Welcome to Bradford and Brooks with your host, Margie Bradford and Jim Brooks, live on WBRT here in downtown Bardstown. The show is sponsored by Springview Hospital in Lebanon. Thank you for listening to 97.1 FM, 1320 AM, and 94.9 FM in Lebanon. Bradford and Brooks, a civil discourse of discussion where community involvement is encouraged. Bradford and Brooks is on.
All right, good morning, Bardstown and Nelson County, and welcome to Bradford and Brooks. Jim Brooks and Margie Bradford with you again here this Wednesday morning. Good morning, Margie.
Good morning, Jim.
Well, we have a beautiful sunshiny Wednesday. The temperature's not too bad outside for change. Glad to get rid of that hot, humid weather. Last night I took the dog out about midnight, and the temperature was in the 70s, but the humidity was still like 90%. So
I know.
So even that weather.
You almost have to wear your windshield wipers out there.
That's right. Well, Margie, we have a very special studio guest with us today, and I'll introduce Mr. Tim Hutchins. Tim is the owner of Handy Food Mart and successful business out on Kentucky 245. And how many years has this Handy Food Mart been in business, Tim?
49 years this year.
Wow.
Well, if we make it one more year, we have our 50th anniversary.
Wow,
so
that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Tim, you of course, the filing deadline for any political office isn't until November 3rd. But you've expressed an interest in the office of Judge Executive. Of course, Dean Watts, who's been there for 25 plus years, will be stepping down. He's not seeking re-election, which makes it a wide open race. And you've expressed an interest in it, in being Judge Executive. And tell us a little bit about your experience, Tim, because I think you bring a good set of skills to a position like this.
Well, when Mr. Forrest at the Standard interviewed me last week, and like I said, I was a magistrate for the 4th District for 4 terms. I got elected for 4 different elections, and so I was in there 17 years total. Mm-hmm. And then, so I got to, I know all the departments and a lot of department heads and a lot of the county employees, and pretty much know the ins and outs of how they worked. And of course, it has changed somewhat since I've been out about, I think, close to 10 years. Mm-hmm. But I consider myself, with a drug situation coming in, I see it, witness it at the store. I mean, it's just rampant all over, and hopefully that the judge executive position can do a lot of stuff there, working with the sheriff departments and the jail and of course the infrastructure. Just a lot of things that we can talk about. A lot of good things that has happened on fiscal court for many years. And mm-hmm. and Dean, I ran against Dean twice in a 3-way race, came in second, and resigned as a magistrate. I did not get defeated as a magistrate. And but Dean and I get along fine. There's a lot of good things he's done, a lot of good things that the fiscal court's done over the years. Some things we disagree on, and but at the end of the day, I think it's my experience as a business person in construction. I've done a lot of construction. I started a construction company about 20 years ago also.
Right.
And I probably employed, I just think about it coming up here, I bet I've employed over, 500 people maybe or more in the years that we've been open at the store and construction. And so I know how to manage, employees. And so I think I got the experience and the business background and the knowledge without being a lifelong politician. That's kind of where I'm stating it, basically.
You mentioned about the drug problem, which I certainly agree with, and, mm-hmm. and I think it's vastly manifest here in Nelson County.
Yes.
But what when you talk about the budget of the jail and the sheriff's office, can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit? What are the things that you would have them do that they're not presently doing?
Well, I think Sheriff Pinarello's done a good job since he's got elected, and he's really running, a strict sheriff department, and very aggressive and very responsive in calls. And they have had some issues at the jail as of recent, but some of those things that that you inherit, and it takes time to solve them. Some of the prosecutions, I think in my opinion, I think are plea bargaining and letting people out too early, too many times, and I think we need to do, of course that would come to some of the other judges' offices and some of the prosecutors, but too many repeat offenders. You just seen in the paper the other day, the boy got out and had a car full of drugs, a repeat offender, and my thinking is if you're doing the crime, you need to do the time. Now, with that said, there's a lot of training and different programs that a lot of people need help with. So with the sheriff, the fiscal court does approve or work with the sheriff department on the budget of the jail and of course the sheriff department, and I think they can work with them on maybe more detectives or special investigators, and then again there's always some state and federal money, and I think with the Republican leadership, I mean you can just go all the way down the line. You got every state and federal elected official from this county is on the Republican Party, and that's growing that way more and more. And so I think the input with the county judge, I think there's a lot of things maybe that we can increase on. Treatment is a big thing. There's no doubt.
That's kind of what I was trying to get around to, is that incarceration is not the answer.
Well, it depends on what it is. I mean, what they've been doing is not working.
Well,
you can look nationwide, it's not worked. So you got to do more treatment. But the pushers, that's pushing these kids, young kids, in a lot of cases, get started with this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm talking about on the incarceration and tougher punishments.
For those, but more treatment.
Treatment-wise, there's a lot of treatment programs you do, and but sooner or later, first, second, third time, and there's you got to grow up and face the reality that if they're doing it, they gotta wake up and say, this is not good, and they've got to change their lifestyles. And there's a lot of problems there. I mean, I've got employees at the store. I mean, you can't hire anybody hardly right now. I was talking to an individual the other day. Of course, it affects everything. It affects your employment. It affects your health care. It affects the hospitals. It affects the sheriff's budget. It affects the jail's budget. I mean, it's just unlimited what it's costing every taxpayer, really. I mean, it's just on and on and on. So it's a big problem. Hopefully we can get in there and work with a lot of different agencies and try to come up with some more issues. Not to say they haven't tried, but hopefully we can do better.
Right. Well, Tim, the Judge Executive Dean Watts has kind of he told me, publicly and privately, that the next Judge Executive is probably going to face some really tight financial times as costs go up. And of course, the county owns EMS. The landfill provides funding for the sheriff's office, and all these expenses continue to climb. And at some point, you're going to need more revenue, which means taxes or some other way. Do you have any thoughts about what the because the county is pretty much locked into their occupational tax rate. They can't be like the city and raise it. Do you have any thoughts about the future? Because right now I think things are still on good financial footing, but as we move forward, everything goes up. Prices go up everywhere, and so
and with the new president, inflation's almost about 6%, so that don't help any.
Right. So, what you have any thoughts about trying to make ends meet?
So you think the county judge now, Dean Watts, is going to say he's going to leave the cupboard bare? Is that what you're saying?
No, I didn't say he'll leave the cupboard bare.
Okay, I was wondering. He didn't tell me that. I've talked to Dean several times, and we get along fine. But
but I think there may be challenges ahead for the next year.
Well, there's always going to be challenges, and we've had many challenges on the federal court in the past, and the years I was on there, and I'm a firm believer in keep your tax rates low. I also think that people that's using a certain department on a regular basis, the fee schedule, you can call it taxes or fees, but more user friendly. I don't think you should have to pay a bunch of fees on something that you never do. So there's a lot of revenue coming into the county. You just got to be conservative in what you're spending and make sure everybody's doing a good job. And I don't foresee that would be a problem personally. There's ways you can do things, and you may have to merge some department heads or some employees, some things. There's some things you can do, but I think the county's in pretty good financial shape, and I wouldn't be. I'm not going to say I would never raise taxes. I would never come out and say that, but I would say that I would be always willing to look at the fees, schedules, and all that, and hopefully we don't have to raise any taxes, because I think our record shows that the years I was on there, I don't think that we ever raised property taxes at all the whole time I was on the fiscal court. And I can't remember exactly, but I think so.
Right.
So, but I know there's challenging times ahead, but that's, if it was easy, everybody would be running. So that's why you got to have somebody with some background, business background, and knowledge that's going to try to achieve those goals and manage that office.
Well, Tim, this isn't related to judge executive. This is just related to management, your management style. You've been operating a successful business for many years. What's the secret to being successful in business? Because it's not easy.
No,
it's not easy to manage an operation like you have. But from the outside looking in, it looks like, well, it's a well-oiled machine and isn't a. So what's the secret to business success from your perspective?
Well, I mean, every business is somewhat different, but the construction business is, totally different from the convenience store business. But I think if you offer a good product and good service and fair pricing and you're, you're just basically nice to people, friendly to people, and then your employees, treat them fairly with respect, and I think that's the big part of it, because there's a lot of play nowadays. There's a lot of competition in every aspect, and just if you want to go to the convenience store side of it, I mean you've got Lowe's and Walmarts and all these big box stores nowadays that offer about everything you want, Super Krogers and so on. So it makes it tougher on the small guys, no doubt about it. But you got to be creative. Like ourselves, we've added a lot of new products and offer a lot of things that a lot of stores don't offer. So I think that's the reason that we've been successful. Not to say it's been easy. It's some challenging times. It's tough.
Sure. The getting back to county government, the Nelson County EMS is a county-owned ambulance service, and I think that they do an excellent job. And there's always been, I think, concern that if it was ever privatized or turned over to one of these big outfits, that the level of service that would get from them would not be equivalent to what we get now. And I know there's a lot of financial pressure with the EMS. I mean, the county subsidizes that heavily right now. What would you support keeping EMS a county-owned service?
Well, when I was on the fiscal court, early 90s, I think now, don't hold me to the dates, but Mr. Pruitt and his wife owned the service, and they had bought it before I took office, and I think before Dean took office. We took office the same year, so. And then he decided he wanted to sell it, even though he was running it in the county, and I'm not going to tell you every little detail because I can't remember without looking up all the information, but we decided as a court then, because there was some outside entities looking at it, and to provide a good service throughout the county, we felt like it's better if the county owned and operated it. And I still feel that way. Now, looking inside, can there be some changes made? Because you got the Medicare, and you got the Medicaid, and you got all the health insurance problems, and you got there's all kinds of issues with that every day, and you got to follow all kinds of regulations, federal regulations, state regulations, and it's just, hopefully you can get in there and streamline and try to save what we can save. But as of right now, today, I would not be in favor of an outside entity taking it. Now, you could probably make money on it if you just want to serve the city of Bardstown, where the bulk of your runs would be, and right outside of the city of Bardstown's area. But the problem with that is you get all the rest of the people out in the county that would not get good service. So.
Right.
And it shouldn't just be a money thing when it comes to saving lives. I mean, you got to provide a service, and there's some ways. Now I know there is some repeats. Talking to Mr. Pruitt in the past, that some people just abuse it and use it continuously.
Right.
And it makes it pretty tough. So, hopefully there's some things we can get in there and look at and adjust and clean up and save some money, but it's some of these programs in the county, you just got to provide the services, and they're not money makers. That's just the way it is,
Right.
And I think that's one that the constituents, when you call 911 and you got somebody there possibly on their deathbed or could be dying, and you think about $1,000 bill or $5,000 bill or $100,000 bill, most people think, I'm going to save their life, one of your child or whoever it is. So it's not all about money when it comes to that. So,
Right.
So no, I wouldn't. The question that you asked, I would not be in favor of selling to an outside entity at this time. No.
Well, it provides such an essential service,
Yes.
and I mean, if that's what government should be about, is the good of the people.
Right.
And that's definitely one of those
That's
things.
one of the main ones, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, we talked about your business activities and being a successful businessman. If elected judge executive, you would probably, I'm assuming you would have to step away from a lot of that, from day-to-day operation of the store. What would be your plans for keeping things running while you turned your attention to judge executive duties?
Well, when I ran against Dean 10 years ago, I had a plan laid out, and of course, unlike some of these people that have ran in the last few years, that I guess, and I don't know what they do, or they work from home, or they're out campaigning every day, and it makes it tough on somebody that's working every day because I work a lot, and I do a lot of work, and I do a lot of volunteer work at St. Gregory's and out in the county, and do a lot of community work, and of course work at the store and my construction company and all that. With that being said, I had it structured about 10 years ago that if I was successful in winning, I'd have to make some adjustments. I could not be at the store. I'd either, more than likely, I've got my niece there now, help me manage it, and I would more than likely turn it over to her. At the construction company, I would probably pretty much just let it go. I probably would just stop doing it.
Hold for now.
Well, I probably wouldn't do any more construction at that time. I'd probably just, let it go, basically, I'd say. And there's a lot of people out there doing work that could, and I got a brother or two brothers that help manage if they wanted to, but I'd have to restructure everything. I know that because the county judge is a full-time job, and I know that, and it's going to be a lot of hours and a lot of time. Because whatever I do, I'm very dedicated, and if I'm successful at getting it, I'm going to be in there 110% and working hard at it because that's just my nature.
Well, what is your motivation for, you're obviously a very busy and successful person. What is your motivation for running for county judge executive, which is, as you say, it's a full-time job? What's your motivation there?
Margie, that's a good question. Back in '93, I had people approach me about running for magistrate, and I defeated Mr. Evans, which we were in competition together in the store business. And for several reasons, they asked me to run, and I decided to run. And I think at public service, I like public service. I don't really like the word politician as such. I always teased Dino, he was a whole lot better politician than me, and I was more of a public servant. So it was I guess it gets in your blood. You hear people say, "Oh, you do it just for the money," or "You do it because of the power," or "You doing it because you want your name in the paper." But and I'm sure there's probably some people out there that do that. I think I can make a difference. I think I can help the community. I like doing it. That's something I enjoy doing, and it's just in my nature. Now, my dad passed away in 1990. And I don't know what he would say, because he always said, "Don't get involved in politics when you're running a business." But so if he was still living today, I don't know what he would say. But my mother lived until she was 88, and she supported me in it heavily, and very excited about it. And somebody asked me if I was going to run. I can't hardly go anywhere without people talking about it ever since Dean made his announcement.
Right.
It's been ongoing phone calls, going everywhere I go, and everybody's talking about it and encouraging me. It makes me feel good. I'm glad. And I said, I keep telling them I'm going to run for the border. What's that old ad, is it Taco Bell? Run for the border.
Yeah.
But it's just something I think it gets in your blood, and if you like doing it and you think you can make a difference, that's just me. And plus I've got, all of my family, we got strong work ethic, and it's just kind of the way I'm built, I guess.
Well, Tim, right now, I think the city has I don't know if the county's participating. There's a study underway regarding a multi-purpose sports complex that might include an indoor pool.
Right.
Would you support the county's involvement in coming up with that type of facility? Now, I know that Judge Watts has said, well, building it is one thing, but the ongoing funding of that operation can be the real question.
Right.
But would you support looking in that direction towards the county being involved in a facility like that?
Well, Jim, when I ran, I think 4 years ago, or it'll be 7, second time I ran, there was a lot of talk about it. There's been a lot of talk about this when I was going to court. They had YMCA studies and continuous studies, and you got to be real careful with what groups you're going to let come in and manage or run these operations, because there's a lot of times, in some cases, if you go out throughout the state and even the country, there's a lot of high-powered salaries involved, and the fees get so outrageous the average person can't use it. Then the government's going to have to subsidize a lot more to keep them operating. Dean and I have talked about this, and I've heard him say that they probably couldn't do it without some kind of more income. I think Mayor Heaton is talking about the time has came to study it. There's no doubt that our population is getting a little bit older, and people work out, and I think you see more people concerned about their health. And I mean, I can see it at the store. People watch what they eat more, and the foods and things like that. So is there a need for it? I would say yes. Can we afford it? I would say I'd have to really study it. I was involved in that before because I helped help structure and bring in the new park, which we named Dean Watts Park. And Joe Eddie Mauser was on there at the time, and I think he's the one who made the motion to name it that. It was in my first term, and I was heavily involved in sports and helped build the new park out there. And I coached for about 20 years, and it's a good thing for the community. Now, how far can you go and what can you afford? At the end of the day, it's going to be what you can justify and afford, because I'm not a big fan of getting deep in debt and, trying to raise a bunch of taxes to support any of these things. It's going to be ongoing. So I think it's see how the study comes back, and we'll look at it, and not only the city of Bardstown, but you got New Haven and Bloomfield. We got 2 other cities, and of course Fairfield. We've got other cities in this community that feel sometimes like they're left out of the picture. In a lot of cases, I know they feel like they're left out of the picture. So we have to include them and get everybody's input on it.
Well, Tim, that brings up a good point. I know that recreation has always been an important thing to you. And I've had people tell me that just exactly what you said, that the outlying communities sometimes feel left out of the recreation picture because it seems like recreation is more centrally located. But if you live in Chaplin, trying to get your kids to soccer practice at Dean Watts Park can be quite a commitment. Do you think that perhaps the county should also focus on some local putting money into some of the local recreation or something like that?
Communities?
Yeah, local communities, for them to have some sort of facilities. And I know we have Balltown Park, and but what do you
Well, I think as of right now, they're updating and reviewing the comprehensive plan.
Right.
And I think it's part of that. When you do the comprehensive plan, there's all kinds of studies and input, and they're having an open house, and there's going to be a lot said about that. It's easier said than done in most cases, because where your major population is where most of your activities usually go, and it's pretty much that way across the nation. Is there a time and need to expand it and move and have an auxiliary park or another park? Very good possibility, because the usage of that park at Dean Watts Park is tremendous. I mean, parking, and it's a problem. It's an everyday problem that they have to deal with out there, because I dealt with it when I was on the court too, and it's probably come to the point that it's kind of outgrown. everybody's got one thing I've found out over the years being in helping at St. Gregory's and Coach AU across the country and even in fiscal court, you've got people has a passion 99% of the time when their kids are involved and they want all these issues fixed and they want maybe new lights or they want a new ball field, they want this, but then when their children past that age, they're not involved.
Right.
Right.
It's just like, and I've said this repeatedly, and I've seen this, I know what happens a lot of times, but then you don't have anybody that has that passion, and I could probably pick on this skate park in Bardstown. You hardly ever see anybody there. There was a big deal there at one time back when I think Dixie was the mayor, and there was a lot of talk and discussion about it, and they ended up being a little skate park, I think it's what they call it. There was a group there that had a big passion, they wanted it, but then as time goes by, if people don't really stay involved in it, because these things can be left out, and so you've got a community that's got a bunch of kids, and you said Chaplain, just for example, let's say you got a bunch of young kids there, and then you don't have any new growth there maybe, that young children, so do you want your people driving all the way to Chaplain just because it is Chaplain, and I'm not criticizing Chaplain.
Sure.
Or a place where you don't have, so you really need to it's going to take a lot of study, and of course you got to look at your infrastructure, and you got to see what you got available, and land costs, and there's just a lot of things. There's a lot of things to be involved, but I do think we've got to grow our parks and expand them, and again, it comes back down to the money. I just don't want to waste any money and spend money we don't have.
Well, central location for anything is always more cost efficient for everybody, generally speaking. So that's.
Well, when I was on the fiscal court, Dean asked me to be I was on the joint city rec board and helped write the regulations and the policies, and we adopted it, and he kind of let me to be in charge, and I had to deal with the city council. At that time, the fiscal court wasn't involved in any funding for recreation. And at that time, I proposed, and the fiscal court accepted it, and we passed it, and we was helping the city of Bloomfield and New Haven. I want to say give or donating, or we've helped them providing $10,000 a year to support the recreation. We asked them, did they want to get involved in the joint board? They didn't want to get involved. They want to have their own thing. So we supported them with tax dollars coming out of the occupational fund. And then the city of Bardstown, it was $100,000, and that's the way it was for years. And then we built the park, which we put millions of dollars in that park. So it's not like the county hadn't provided a lot for the communities, but that's the way we did it then. Since then, they dissolved it when the mayor was there, and Dean, I don't know exactly what happened a few years ago, and the partnerships, I think, abolished, and so I don't know exactly how it's structured today, but I was a big part of that back in the time to get that done, because I was heavily involved in, and I coached for years, like I said, when my children was out and older, I still stayed heavily involved in the athletic side of it, and because it's just good for children and families.
Well, Tim, of course, the Nelson County Jail has been in the news of late, and of course, the Buck Snellen is the jailer, and I think he's been working since he was elected to try to really make changes and update things. But he's been under a lot of criticism after there was a death from of an inmate there, and I think the investigation, the Kentucky State Police has taken a long time, but I'm thinking it's done, but I haven't heard the results of it. And Judge Watts in the recent weeks has talked about studying eliminating the jail and contracting with another county to take inmates. And Sheriff Pennaroa has said, well, think twice about that, because that's going to increase everybody's cost. If they have to take people they arrest across county lines all the time. Now, with the jail situation, you support keeping the county jail and doing what we can to keep it keep it in serviceable condition.
Well, I think it's been a problem since I was on the court. It was a continuous problem, and Dean Watts 11, 12 years ago, maybe in that range, 13, he actually proposed adding on to the jail, and I forget what the debt service was going to be, $1 million something or maybe $2 million, and to spend a lot of money on it. And I had enough influence on the court that we turned it down. So then things have changed, the incarcerations and the misdemeanors versus the felonies, and it's letting people out quicker. And when I was on the court, and Dorcas was the jailer, and of course Austin Weller prior to that, in the last several years I was on there, I could say the jail population, you would say, was around 115, 20, 30, 40, about every week, and they said it was overcrowded. And then some people want to build on. And I didn't think it was justifiable, because there was talk about changing in the state legislation about some of these issues, and it has happened. Of course, You've got this virus coming up, and there's a lot of other things happening. So it takes a lot of money. I think I forget what the subsidy is now regarding to the person that passed away in there. All I know about that is what I have read and heard and talked to a little bit. And there's all kinds of negative comments about nobody responding and whatever. I don't know. I haven't talked to both people on both sides. I don't know that, because I'm not inside the clique, and a lot of that's probably confidential information. There's no doubt the jail probably needs some improvements and some, I'd say, some remodeling. But my take on it is, right now, I don't think it should be like a hotel either. I mean, some people want to go in there and they think everything ought to be just perfection, and I'm not a big fan of that. I'll tell you that right out of the gate, because I just think if you're going to provide a place for them to go at a decent service, but maybe they don't want to go back. We find out how it is a little bit tough down there. But as far as closing the jail, I think I seen where the dean ends up going to do a study, but it will put a lot of pressure on the sheriff department and transportation, and they do the back and forth, I think, on the misdemeanors. But a lot of it depends on what the legislators do in the state, because there was a lot of lobbying that would make it some state inmates. They would actually pay more money.
Right.
So there's going to be a lot of talk about that, and a lot of studying to be done, and I really wouldn't comment on any of it until I had a whole lot more information. But I know how the jail works pretty good, and I think they're trying to, it's another thing. It just costs a lot of money. That's just like the ambulance service. I mean, you provide it, and you have to. I think we're the only state in the United States, I'm pretty certain of this, that the state of Kentucky is the only state where the sheriff department does not manage and run the jail. I think all the other states is the sheriff department runs the jail. So, I mean, there's some issues that probably need to be done at Frankfurt also to help correct these problems.
Well, Tim, talk about a minute about traffic, and I'm sure in the last, since you were a magistrate, you've seen a big uptick in traffic in front of your store.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of discussion, especially within Bardstown, about we have too many semis going through downtown Bardstown.
Right.
And so there's a need for a western bypass that would go around in the area of Old Airport Road, connect that with 245, and then maybe on around to Louisville Road.
Well, that's been going on since I was on the court. Right. I met with the Munn family myself when I was a magistrate, and and Charles Munn and Jim Lameau, the county engineer, and we met with them, and then Dean, he ended up endorsing it, and we met with them to sign a easement, and not exactly what you call it, where Thomas Nelson High is, where they end up. We helped Thomas Nelson actually get the entrance built to their new school with our engineering staff, and saved them a lot of money because of in-service help. And then we worked with the Munn family to sign an agreement they would not build anything in that easement area. Now, I don't know how long that contract stands.
Right.
But that's something we've talked about for many years, and in my opinion, since I've been out, I think because a lot of issues, but that bypass should have been built. But now they're talking about moving in closer to town, and there's always arguments about money and where it should go and not go. But just by studying and what knowledge I've got, I think is what they're proposing now is too close to town. But if you can't get the funding to do it, I guess that's you got to take what you can get. With that being said, on the roads and the traffic, and I'll just tell you, I worked with Brett Guthrie when I was in there. I worked with Ron Lewis. I worked with Mitch McConnell actually on helping get Louisville Road, because that was in the 4th District, which I represented, and we had several open house meetings down there. Frankie Cameron got involved in it. He was a constituent there, and Dan Kelly, and we really worked hard and started getting that process going, and then the fiscal court jumped on board, and of course Dean, and after the fact, and we, Louisville Road ended up getting a lot of work done on it. But with the leadership, you've got to have leadership, and like I say, I know all these guys. I mean, all the way from, Brett Guthrie's been at my store. We've talked many times. Mitch McConnell, whether you like him or not, that's just people who've got the purse with the money in it. You've got to be able to get along with them, talk to them, bring them in. Dan Kelly at the time, and you got Jimmy Higdon. Look at the bypass over Lebanon. Look at the road going all the way to Springfield and Danville. I mean, look at some of these other towns got all these bypasses. And then you got David Floyd that I worked with a lot on helping get water in the county, and Dan Kelly, and then you got Chad McCoy, which is a personal friend of mine. So you got to be able to have the connections and to be able to bring the money to the county. And again, I'm not going to criticize Dean. Dean and I is good friends, and I hope he comes out and gives me a public endorsement. But I think with Republican leadership in the county, when you got every other head that's in the Republican Party, I think it's huge in this time, where the movement is going, in my opinion.
Well, Tim, would you use...
You got the state Senate and House that is super majority Republican. And that's just the facts. And you know how politics works. Depends on what party you're in, and then the movement of Nelson County is in that direction where you agree with it or not. It's just a fact. And we should have a bypass already built, and we already had it laid out as far as connecting it all the way to Louisville Road. And you just got to get in there and get it done. I mean, the money's there, and you just got to find it and put it in the right places. Because there's some places in the state I can drive you around right now that's got done that should not have been done. No doubt in my mind.
Well, Tim,
so a lot of growth in this county.
So you would commit using your influence as judge executive to lobby to get that bypass built.
Lobby, I'd go up there and
knock on doors.
I'd go in and open the door. I wouldn't even knock on the door. I mean, you got to get in there and make sure it's done, because I know all these people, and I've worked with them in the past. I worked with David Williams in the past, and Greg Stumbo in the past, and Jody Richardson in the past when he was in Frankfurt, and again, you just got to spend a lot of time up there and get things done. I mean, it's just part of the job,
So yes, you would lobby.
I don't really like the word lobby. I'd say work. I would work with
you say
all
tomato,
these,
I say tomato.
I would work with all these people, and if you call it lobbying, I would be up there. And I mean, I'm gonna tell you right now, I can't promise, but I would get some things done, because I do have a lot of people that I've got connected to that's I mean, they should be loyal to Nelson County. That's just the way it is. Let's go back to 245. I mean, 245 should have been 4-lane all the way to 65 years ago. And again, I'm not criticizing Dean, but Dean and I disagreed over that. He says the money should be appropriated to other places. My opinion is you get both projects done. I mean, you just got to get them done, because you talking about truck traffic. My goodness, just look at it.
Yeah.
As far as downtown, I mean, you're not going to solve all the trucks downtown, but then there may be some possibilities about some inner little side street connectors inside of Bardstown. I don't know how far they've studied that, but it's just a continuous problem when you got growth. I mean, that's just the way it is. That's a good problem to have,
Right. Well, Tim, as you mentioned earlier, the comprehensive plan is due for an update, and they're having an open house tomorrow night. And it's open to the public, and you can give your thoughts on the issues facing Nelson County for the next 20 years or so, and you've said frequently that you think that the whole process of planning and zoning should be more I think you've said user friendly or friendly to the customer. What any particular changes that you think would move in that direction? Now, I recently got a permit for a garage, and I found that if you followed the directions, it was pretty simple. Of course, that's not nearly as complex as the process for getting building a new home on a lot out in the county, where you have to get the encroachment permit for the driveway and all those other things.
Well, I support, some of that stuff, but since you just said that, I just got an invitation. Can you see if there's a camera at? Right here?
It's right there.
Open house, public open house, comprehensive plan, and I'd like to see as many people go to give some input. This is more of a plan on the comprehensive plan, what that's doing, and that's not as necessarily the regulation side of it, which is two different animals. So every office in this county, if I become county judge, they will not be rude to anybody, and they will be helpful to anybody. Now, sometimes you have to say no, but you can say no in a nice way. I voted against the expanded state inspection program when I was in fiscal court. That's when, and I supported inspecting the new homes. Mm-hmm. We actually proposed that. I think I proposed it. Johnny Downs was a director, and I think that a lot of new homes were being built inadequate, and a lot of lawsuits, and most good builders supported that, and I think it's been a good thing. Now, the process of getting permits and how you got to get them and how can you simplify it, I want it as simple as possible. Now, the inspections, I support that. I did not expand the expanded statewide expanded inspection program because, and I don't know if they've changed any of it since then. I don't think they have, maybe some of the fences, but I had people getting letters in my district, that a threatening letter, when they found out they was out of compliance. I mean, I had women call me crying because they put the statute in it where they could be possibly fined and possibly jailed and stuff like that. That would not happen under my watch, I'll tell you that. If somebody's doing something that they not aware of that they're doing, they will be sent a friendly letter and something that would be helpful to them. And I don't think you should have to inspect everything on your property. If you want to put a new kitchen in your house, I think you should be able to do it. It's your house. If they want to put a fence up in your yard, as long as you meet the setbacks and you don't interfere with the neighbors, you should be able to put your fence up. I don't think you build a little barn outside and they got to inspect the hose and look at the post holes in the ground. I don't think you should get all that stuff inspected. I think it's way too far, way too broad, and it's taking people's rights away. And you can't really do anything technically legally now without a permit. And I'm just not in favor of that. New homes and new commercial, industrial, yes, I'm in favor of that. But anyway, that's just me, and I'm going to simplify. I want to simplify that process as much as possible. And like I say, every department, and I'm not criticizing any department, but I know. And some people has a bad day. I've had a few bad days myself, but taxpayers are paying for all this stuff, and they're elected the people in these positions, and they're working under the elected officials, and I think you've got to have a leadership that's going to make sure things are done that way.
Well, Tim, one thing that's near and dear, I think, to all magistrates' heart is paving. And as you know, the cost of asphalt continues to has increased a lot over the last 20 years, but the amount of money to do the paving in all the districts really hasn't, though Judge Executive Dean Watts he contributes some from his own fund to help the magistrates who have a shortfall. Do you think would you consider changing the way the paving money is distributed?
Well, I know they've talked about it up there, and I don't know if they adopted a new policy or not, but when I was on fiscal court, the 4th District, and I got criticized by from some other magistrates because all the work's been done in the 4th District. All the work's been done in the 4th District. I'm not saying they didn't work, but I worked my rear end off, and I went and seen people, and I widened, I don't know how many roads I widened in the 4th District and had them paved and upgraded. And I went to the state, and and you just got to be able to manage it, and I don't think any road needs to be paved unless it needs to be paved. There has been some, that just because a pot of money's there, that don't mean you waste it. So yeah, I would look at everything and look at what needs to be done. And I'll go back and give Joe Evans credit. But when I came in, Joe, he went to Frankfurt, and he was heavily involved in Kentucky Match Association, and he got a lot of roads blacktop in Nelson County. And I did the same thing. I mean, there's some state money that you got to be able to get, just like I was telling you about expanding the roads and bypasses and all that. So when they tell you there's no money there, there's usually some more funds there that's available in some cases. But I think we want good roads and good infrastructure in the county.
Right. Well, let's see. Well, Tim, we're down to about the last 4 minutes. We need to get a couple of commercial breaks in, and then we'll come back and wrap up in just a moment. You're listening to Bradford and Brooks. Stay tuned. All right, you're back with Bradford and Brooks, Jim Brooks and Margie Bradford here with our very special studio guest, Tim Hutchins. Well, Tim, we've got about a minute and a half left. I'll let you. Any final message for voters you want to, because you haven't officially filed. Of course, you can't until November 3rd.
Right. Well,
but you seem very.
I'm going to. I've told you, I've had people asking me and encouraging me and want me to do it, and it's in my blood. And I've told you, and you've seen all the announcements, that I'm very, very serious about it. My hope would be that nobody would be running in the primary. I think Mr. Thrasher announced his intent, which he did tell me. He called me a few times and said he encouraged me to run for county judge, and then now he's filing of an intent, so I don't know where his change of mind came, but I guess I can talk to him and find out. But I would hope everybody get behind me and we be unified, and we can get some new leadership in the county and move things forward without any whole lot of criticism and infighting. But I want to work with the mayor, which is Dick Heaton in the city of Bardstown, and also Miss Tessie Cecil and Mr. Dungeon of New Haven, Bloomfield, and Miss Ford in Fairfield, because I do think that some of these outlying cities and communities and feel like they have been left out, if you want to say that word. But when I get involved, and I want to be involved for the whole community. And again, I just hope that we haven't talked about industry, but in sewers, I mean, we definitely got to get our infrastructure.
WBRT Bardstown, 1320 AM. W246 AT Bardstown, 97.1
well, thank
FM.
you, Tim.
And
we
now,
are out of time.
W235
Thanks for
DB
listening.
Lebanon,
Bradford and Brooks.
94.9 FM, Lebanon and Marion County.